What's up, weaves, and welcome back to Anime Lane, the podcast where we take you down the yellow brick road of anime and have a look at everything it has to offer. I am your host, Notorious, and once again, as always, I am joined by Shaun.
Yo.
And Melina.
What's up?
My voice kind of broke when I said your name. On today's...
I don't take it personally.
On today's episode, we are getting Matrixy with Hello World.
Very Matrixy.
Very Matrixy, and...
Drifting home?
yeah, I don't know.
Drifting home.
We're out to sea with Drifting Home.
Just like play the Wind Waker theme.
I didn't know how to that one. I was like, yeah, there's no good way to
You can't really find a way to segue into apartment complex that becomes a boat.
Yeah. So which one do we want to start with? I don't know which order.
I watched
everyone
Drifting Home first.
Same.
Okay. Oh, I'm the odd one out. I watched Hello World first.
Oh,
So I'm cool to start with Drifting Home
cool.
if we want to
can
go
do
with that.
Drifting Home, yeah.
Unless we want to go with Hello World, I don't care.
Both of them made me cry, so either way, I'll be getting into an emotional state.
There's definitely like a thematic link.
Yeah,
and
weirdly enough.
Yeah, for context, I picked these having never seen either of them before for once.
Okay, so either. I thought you'd seen like Hello World
No,
before.
I hadn't seen either. I owned Hello World, and I was
okay.
like, okay, this is a good excuse to watch it. I'd never seen either, so I didn't know there was going to be like a thematic, line between the two of them.
It's great when that happens.
Yeah.
The episode has a theme.
Exactly.
Look
So,
at us, so well planned.
Exactly.
so I'll leave the floor to you guys to pick whichever one you would want to start with.
I feel like Drifting Home would be good to start with.
Yeah, Drifting Home.
Sure. So
It was a journey.
Oh, it was a journey.
it was.
Not a never-ending journey. That was Galaxy
no,
Express.
that's
No,
Galaxy
that's-
Express.
Yeah. Like, I think it was a movie that really pulled your heartstrings in the right way for me, particularly.
Yeah.
I don't know, certain things just don't get me as much, but this, I was like, oh my
I
god.
didn't expect this to get to me, and then by the
Yeah.
end, I genuinely shed a few tears.
I didn't expect it to be as emotional as it was, and then I put it on and I'm watching it and I'm looking at what's on screen and I'm like, oh yeah, this is the team behind Penguin Highway. 'Cause it's from the same studio,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize it was the same director, the same character. Well, the animation director is the same, but that person was on character designs and the character designer was on animation director. So they basically just swapped roles, I think.
Yeah. I think you can kind of...
You can kind of tell, yeah.
Yeah.
The vibes are very similar.
Character designs are very similar in terms of style, but they're slightly different.
There's something about like the thematics of like the movie that I could tell it was the same even before you told me.
Yeah, I had my concerns that because it was like an original piece from the studio, I think co-written by the director, as like, oh, they don't have like the source material of Tomohiko Morimi, I think his last name is, who wrote Penguin Highway, to carry the emotional weight, 'cause I think a lot of that does come from source material.
Yeah.
You can only add to that when you're adapting. Well, you can take away from it as well if you're doing a bad adaptation, but I don't think Penguin Highway was particularly. So I was concerned about Drifting Home because I'm like, this is kind of like the pacing is quite slow to begin with. It takes a while to get anywhere.
It's a bit of a strange opening and kind of confusing.
Yeah, because I had to ask you if the person in the apartment and the character Natsume, who they keep referring to, were the same person.
Yeah.
Because there's one line that threw me off at the start of the movie, actually, where they reference Super Smash Brothers. And then directly after it, they're like, oh, so what's happened to Natsume? You guys were like brothers. So I'm like, oh, Natsume's a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got confused as well.
Yeah.
Because like the first time I saw her, I was like, okay, girl? And then as like the montage was going, I was like, wait, are they?
I knew that the character we were seeing on screen was a girl, but I was also confused because I thought there was just another character called Natsume that's like hasn't been seen, because they allude to it like they haven't seen them in years, even though they share a class with them.
Yeah.
So I was so confused. And then it's like, what, I think 25 minutes before the inciting incident actually takes place.
Yeah.
Which is nice because it builds you up to the characters and sort of the dynamic that everyone has. And then, I was surprised because, like, you go through sort of not a montage, but you see a bit of their everyday life on the
Yeah.
apartment complex as it's drifting through. And then it's like some stuff starts going down and you're like, oh, I guess we're nearing the end of the movie. And then you look at the runtime and you're only halfway through and you're like, oh.
There was one point where I checked, it was when they were like, oh, look, it's our hometown. I'm like, wait, how long has it been?
Yeah.
And I think you're like half an hour in. No, maybe 45 minutes
45
in.
I think so,
minutes.
yeah, because it's like shortly
Roundabout.
after that I think it's not when they like break the apartment complex, is it? I think
You think
like
it
when they go to the department store and then they come back and the girl like
gets like floating around?
yeah, and then it's like they start preparing to leave because water's coming in, and then obviously the house starts sinking and it's like I looked at the runtime so I'm like, oh, I guess we're near the end of the movie then, and there's still like a full hour to go and I'm like, oh boy.
Yeah. And for the long haul on this one.
Yeah, and like that's not it wasn't a bad thing because
No.
like it justifies its runtime by the end.
yeah.
Absolutely. By
For
the
sure.
end, I was like, okay, that earned its 2 hours.
Yeah, because it's still got a lot of like character arcs to cover. Because like, we don't get much from Nopo.
I was calling him Nopo.
Nopo. Like, it's not really until that like last section of the film we really get to.
Yeah, when it really cuts to the heart of the entire
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
And it cuts in my heart.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
That entire sequence of like them heading and Nopu saying I'm not going. What's her name again?
Natsume.
Natsume, yeah. Like swimming back and then
Oh,
that
yeah.
whole thing. I was in peril.
See,
yeah.
I was like trying to figure out like what was happening in terms of. So obviously she falls at the start of the movie, and that's
Yeah.
when like we're transitioned.
Yeah,
I was thinking they're all dead.
That's
or
what I
she's
thought.
dead.
I don't want to say I'm almost sad that like at the end I was like, oh, this is how they deal with grief. They created this adventure.
That's what I was thinking.
Because I was like, she clearly fell.
Because it is a film about grief, but it sort of
Not her grief.
it gives a red herring. Well, it's about
yeah.
her grief.
I mean, yeah.
but not
Not the
grief for her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because it's more of like it's more sort of justifying her grief for
The ground.
The granddad.
the granddad
Because the whole story with her, and I'm being terrible with names. There are a lot of names when watching these back to back.
Ko something is the main character.
It's weird because like
Carcass.
Ruri, the Florida girl, also called him something else.
Yeah, so everyone sort of has like their own nickname
Yeah.
for him.
But like, yeah, the story with the main guy and the main girl is that like the main girl's like half adopted by his family.
Kind of
Yeah.
just. I assumed it was kind of like a babysit. Like her parents weren't in a great
See, that's
relationship.
what
so-
I thought, but then it's
Yeah.
like she fully lived with them
Yeah.
for a
Yeah,
while.
so like the way I think it's explained that like like you were saying, her parents weren't in a great situation. The dad was a piece of shit. Like,
Yeah.
from
Oh
just
yeah,
what we
like
know.
there's subtle hints to like domestic abuse.
I mean, he's
in
full
there.
on slaps her at
Yeah.
one point. So, and the mum must have obviously been going through a tough time, and she's not like a bad character. She just must have been like,
No,
I
she's
can't
not like
take
a
care of
bad.
her.
Yeah,
So
I'd
I'm
say that
leaving-
that's the braver thing
Yeah.
to do in that situation. Is
like
no,
props to the mum.
Yeah.
So she gave her to the main guy's family,
Kosuke.
Kosuke, Kosuke's family, and she's grown up with the granddad.
Yeah.
So I think they all lived together. So I
Okay.
think the I don't know if the granddad, because they mentioned like that's the granddad's room. So I don't know if the granddad lived with the parents, because that's kind of a common thing
Okay.
in Japan for like the parents to live with them eventually once they reach an older
yeah.
age. But there's
can
not like a
understand that.
lot of discussion on Kosuke's parents.
Yeah,
in
you sort of have
general.
to pick it up from context.
Yeah. His grandpa seemed to be more impactful to him than his parents.
yeah. Heart-wrenching sequence. Like they both show up to the hospital, and he tells her he's not your grandpa.
Yeah.
He doesn't even say it in like an angry. He just says it so casually. It's
Yeah.
like, dude,
Yeah,
Dude!
I think that this
Does
is
it matter?
yeah.
My God.
it's such an interesting dynamic where both of them are like restraining things to hide from the other character,
yeah.
thinking that they won't notice, where both of them are very much aware of what's going on below the surface. Because you have, like, as much as neither character ever fully admits to anything, and that's sort of, I think, when the film ends, I think it feels a little bit inconclusive to their character arc.
I sort of took it as sort of realistic, like,
I
Kids
guess
don't
they're
want-
kids.
Yeah.
I guess so, but it's like, you know, Natsume never fully admits to, like, you know, feeling hurt or being upset by just the whole situation she was in. And then Kosuke never actually fully admits to kind of resenting the fact that his grandpa was, you know, very doting on
Yeah.
Natsume.
Yeah.
And I do, it is all from like a childlike perspective still, like Penguin Highway, so I sort of get it, but at some point there's like a, you know, it should all boil over, and even if they're kids,
Yeah, at some point
everything
you're
comes
done.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas no, Natsume just forces a smile like always, and Kosuke is still just a little brat.
I
Yeah.
think it says something about character as well, because, you know, she's been through a
Oh,
lot
100%.
with her parents, you know, having a horrible relationship, and then being moved to this family, which you're
Yeah.
then told, like, just before they die, they're not your family.
Yeah.
And that being the last time you saw them. I mean, not even, she didn't even get to see him.
No.
That's very formative
Well,
for
yes.
your
100%.
development.
It's even worse because, like, it's implied, but it's more like outright stated that, like, that the grandpa getting up and telling Kosuke to
You see
apologize,
him,
that's
like,
what caused him to, like,
Yeah.
collapse,
Yeah.
and that's eventually what caused his death.
Yeah, because you see him, like, while Kosuke's, like, running after Natsume, like, clinging to his chest. And then fully later in the film, when it calls back to that scene again, he's, like, chasing after her, doesn't get to her. And he, like, turns around and looks at the hospital, and you're thinking, oh, fuck, he's dead. And then it actually just cuts to the hospital of, like, a nurse fully on the bed giving him chest compressions. I'm like, this is traumatic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even for me. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
God.
And it's like it's all done in such a sort of like realistic sense that it doesn't not glorify it, but you know,
sensationalize it.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's done in very sort of like a well-handled way to the point that you're like, oh fuck, this feels real.
It was very
Yeah.
genuine.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
Um.
I have like one small critique about it, because I really enjoyed this. Is like my niche of stuff that I really like. People stranded on a weird thing.
Oh,
Or
that's
in
the
a weird
niche.
thing. Yes. This is like, we had to read books for high school, like my Dutch classes. Yeah. And I read 6 books about isolation in a place you can't escape. And it's
I
very
have one
fascinating
book
to
coming
me.
to mind.
Yeah, same.
6.
Lord of the Flies.
I was thinking Lord of the
Yeah.
Flies.
Yeah, that as well. Yeah.
Did you read that in Dutch?
No, I did not, because we are only allowed to read like Dutch books that
Oh,
are
okay,
written
okay.
in Dutch.
Ah,
No
originally in Dutch.
translations. Ugh.
Sure.
Yeah.
But like, the one critique I have is that I wished in the beginning we would have had a scene of them playing football, because they
Yeah,
keep
yeah.
hinting at
I
it.
think that's what
And
what led to some confusion between the characters and stuff.
for sure.
And I do sort of get it in like a perspective of it sort of cuts down on extra stuff at the start.
Yeah, even if it was during credits for like a few seconds.
Yeah.
They keep mentioning it. Like, we have 2.
There are
front
so
players.
many football like
And-
references.
We don't know that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
they just were holding a football at some point, and that's all the context we got. I think it
There is a
really
lot
could've
of
brought it
mention of
home.
like them being in soccer club and Natsume's left and
Yeah.
but yet we never see them playing.
It sort of felt like if like a sort of a payoff and slight setup, but not without the initial setup.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
even if, and as dumb as this sounds, if near the end of the film, when they're on like the apartment complex, if they had to do some fucking football maneuver,
Exactly.
you know,
it
to,
would have
like,
brought it home.
score
Yeah.
through a portal or something like that to get them home, it is ridiculous, but it would have fit that whole character setup.
This
that
is
they've
a
brought
film
in.
that I think it would get away with that ridiculousness.
Yeah, exactly.
And make
Exactly,
it like
yeah.
emotional.
Yeah.
Oh, they passed the ball to each other. They're working together so well.
I think, and as much as there's like a lot of focus on Kosuke and Natsume, everyone gets their like time.
Oh yeah.
Every character in
in the group.
Feel like they're meant to be there.
Yeah, I think there's only one character who I think gets shafted a little bit, and that's
Is it the little guy?
No, it's the big guy.
Yeah,
I mean,
both of those two had the least
Yeah.
of development.
There was a lot between Kosuke and Natsume, Ruri, and Juri, and the Florida girl, whose name I couldn't.
I think she's
remember.
Ruri.
Is she
Yeah,
Ruri?
Yeah.
Ruri and Juri. Reina. I think it's
Reina.
Reina.
Reina and Juri, I think.
Okay.
Yeah,
I was
it's
hearing,
Reina.
Yeah.
I was hearing Ruri, and that I'm remembering that because like, with me, I had like a friend called Ruri, but he's like a guy, so
Yeah.
I was like, that's a strange name.
Ruri is because main character of Hello World, the girl, is called Ruri.
You're right.
So we got Kosuke, Natsume, Reina, Juri, Yuzuru, and Taishi. Although I don't think they ever refer to him as Yuzuru.
No,
Maybe not,
that doesn't sound familiar to me.
Yuzuru and Reina in particular for me were Yuzuru was distracting because he has the same voice actor as the main character from My Hero Academia.
Okay.
And like I can't watch anything else with him in it now because all I hear is that character because he has no fucking range.
Oh, that's a shame.
And like
The Patrick Warburton effect.
yeah, and like it's not necessarily a bad thing because a lot of voice actors can be recognizable, but it's like it is so that character because it was like his breakout role. So I was like fucking hell. But then Reina is voiced by another character, another voice actress from another anime that I watched, but it was like so perfectly cast.
Oh, yeah, it was very
and how psychotic she is.
She's the type of character that you're like, oh, I hate how
I
you work in
hated
the story.
Yeah, I was like, I hate her, and I messaged Shaun, and I'm like, but the VA is killing it.
She is acting the hell out of it.
Oh, 100%.
It's
Yes.
just too bad that this character I want to strangle.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I like. She doesn't even really feel like she learns anything by the end
just
of the
gets
movie.
Kind of humbled in a
Yeah.
way.
It's a
where it's
little
like,
better.
She takes her actual best friend on the trip to Florida with her
Yeah.
instead of the guy she's crushing on.
Yeah.
Which is just an odd concept to
whose
me.
fucking parents are like, oh, who do you want to bring? This boy I have a crush on. I'm like, to Florida?
Yeah.
You go to the park, girl. And
On
that's
a
as
whole
far.
ass
Yeah,
holiday.
Yeah, and that's not a short flight either. That's not a
No.
1-2 hour. No, you're there for days.
Yeah.
God.
And then she still brings him back a souvenir when clearly he's just so utterly disinterested
He barely
in her.
even realizes she's there most
Yeah,
of the
that's the
time.
thing. Like in the film, they barely actually interact properly.
Well, she tries to interact with him a lot. He's just completely unresponsive.
Yeah, that's it.
It's not dense MC. It's I don't want nothing to do
Oh,
with you.
he's fully
MC.
ignoring her.
Yeah.
Like, it's a choice.
Like I know you're crushing on me, and I hate it.
Although to be fair, the MC is like very Kosuke is very like dismissive of everyone to
Yeah.
a degree.
I mean, he is closed off as a character. I think it's a character trait.
Yeah,
To
yeah.
just
I think
kinda-
it's the point. Like it's
Yeah.
his way of dealing with his grief,
Oh, 100%.
closing off.
But I think that's another thing that kind of bothers me about the conclusion of the film is that he's not really any further forward in that. He's still kind of closed off. Like, sure, he's patched it up with Natsume, which is weird because at the end of when the film ends, the last like freeze frame is such an odd like expression on their faces.
Yeah, I didn't like that.
Yeah, no.
I was looking because I expected them to turn around and like then it stopped and I'm like, they're looking at each other. They're gonna smile.
Yeah.
Because that that was Noppo's
Yeah.
whole thing is that
Yeah.
he wanted to see them smile again. And then it just froze on that and like zoomed out to the credits and I'm like, hold on, what? That's the last frame you're gonna give us of them?
There was a moment where I was like, what the fuck is this implying?
Yeah.
I don't like what this is implying.
Yeah.
I was so confused.
Yeah.
A weird way to end the movie.
Yeah, if they had just added a smile, that would have been very nice.
Yeah.
Would have been a nice bookend.
Yeah, I like that the mother came over and had
Yeah,
dinner with the
yeah.
whole family and stuff. That's a
That was
nice sort
They're,
of
they're healing.
yeah. It sort of plays into what Natsume asks of her mum of like
Yeah.
no more takeout, please.
Yeah.
So if your child has to tell you that,
Yeah.
it's too much takeout.
Yeah.
Make it stop.
Very
Mother, please.
Yeah. There's solidly like 2 adult characters in this film.
Yeah.
And I think that's really cool.
That is cool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to tell a childlike story from a childlike perspective without sort of including adults
as like a viewpoint to like
as like a sort of, they're almost, you know, hyperbolic in a sense of like, well, yeah, they're obviously gonna be the natural antagonist of the story because you know, parents, yeah,
kids rule.
You know, I don't want you to get hurt, you little shit. Of course I don't.
Don't do fucking stupid shit.
Yeah.
Look, you can have your fun, but I gotta be the responsible one.
Yeah.
So suck it up.
Yeah.
But then, like, they're totally removed from the real world, so they don't have parents, and so you've only really got Natsume's mum and Kosuke's granddad.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because, you know, it's a film of 6 characters stuck together, and you don't really ever get time away from any of them.
No.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this.
This was a really good movie.
Very sweet movie.
Very sweet.
I don't know if this is a hot take, and they're both very good films, but I liked this one more than Penguin Highway.
Oh,
I did as well.
Yeah.
It's just because it's my little niche.
That's interesting. I don't know. I think I'd need to see this like again and see how it holds up.
I would probably need to watch both of them again to actually get full-fledged thoughts on them. But just watching them both for the first time, having only watched them both like one time, I like this one just a little better. They're both very good.
Yeah, I think
this one
like
hit me more.
Yeah, I think this one has like a more of a
relatability for me personally.
I think like a higher enjoyment level because it's more like straightforward.
There's more of an adventure angle.
Yeah, whereas Penguin Highway, there's like a lot of focus on the discoverability and the scientific side of it, and
other
things.
Big old biddies.
The mountains.
I had to get it out there. We were dancing around it. It was painful.
Yes.
I just wanted to.
So
I'm so sorry.
I think possibly it might be more enjoyable than Penguin Highway, but I'm also partial to penguins.
That's okay. That's fair.
As an idea, Penguin Highway sounds more appealing.
Yeah.
Like, if you pitched both of these to me, I'd be like, well, I want to see the fucking Penguin Highway, of course.
Yeah, if you pitched both to me, I'd be interested in both,
The
but
film,
you put penguins in one of them.
Yeah,
and I'm
the
gonna
third
lean towards
act
penguins.
kicks off with the penguins marching into water. Sign me the fuck up.
Oh, fuck yeah.
To be fair, out of both movies, I will say that little march sort of moment was probably the best moment out of the both of them, but I think overall I like Drifting Home.
I think I enjoy Drifting Home a little more. I think visually I don't think it tops Penguin Highway. I think there's more moments in Penguin Highway where the visuals stand out, whereas I think Drifting Home was quite a bit more reserved.
Yeah.
But that makes sense because it's a less sort of grandiose. I say that they're on an apartment complex drifting through the ocean.
Yeah, but if you look at the actual story,
it's less grandiose than Penguin Highway.
It also doesn't help that like all the big like spectacle moments are in this like storm. That's covering everything.
Which Netflix had. They could have done better.
Yeah,
there were definitely times where like there was like ghosting on like someone would move and there would be very clearly like the outline left as they moved.
I did sort of notice.
But I think that's something Netflix has issues with in general during dark scenes is like, and there was a few times where like I noticed backgrounds like would stick a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's Netflix. Anytime I watch anime on Netflix, I'm like, I gotta bear it. I gotta bear it.
Yeah. You can go the whole movie not noticing.
Oh yeah. I definitely love it if this came out on Blu-ray.
Oh,
but considering it's a Netflix thing and it only came out this year and it's like 2025, 2026, like a while from now.
If it does come out on Blu-ray, I'm probably gonna get it.
Yeah.
This is something I want to own.
So yeah, scores.
9.
Damn.
8.5 for me.
I'm gonna have to check what I rated it.
Again, I want to stress my scores are based purely on the vibes. There's no
that's fair.
There's no analytical thought into it. It's just what I feel in the moment.
What did I give this? I gave it an 8. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Fairly high.
We keep referring back to Penguin Highway. I can't remember what I rated it on here. I rated that 10.
Okay, there you go.
That one was based purely on vibes.
What's a Penguin Highway? What do you want me to rate it? Come on.
If we're gonna rate Penguin Highway right now, I'd rate that an 8.
An 8, fair.
7.5. So
I was sort of leaning on the 7.5 as well, but like I'm reminded of the March scene again, and that bumps it back up to 8.
Cool. So, Hello World.
It's a ride.
Oh, it is a ride. It's fun though.
Yeah.
That was a fun movie.
I think if I'm ever to like tell someone about this movie, it does not ever go in a direction you expect it to.
God, no. I was not expecting the simulation angle when I went in.
No. But not just the simulation angle. Simulations all the way down.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's a simulation inside a simulation inside another giant simulation.
That could also be inside another giant simulation.
God, I kind of love it, though.
Yeah.
It was a lot. Like, as soon as I felt like I understood what was going on, they were like, psych. I'm like, no, please. I'm trying my best to understand this.
Yeah, like, I had, like, a grasp on the story, and then, like, he comes out of the virtual world to, like, get her back, and I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
At that point, you're like, that shouldn't be possible.
Yeah. It's like, I'm all for the power of love and friendship, but what the fuck?
And then it just gets even more wild, because, like, the cyber police, as I'm calling them, sort of all start, like, just climbing out like demons from hell.
The boys.
Yeah. The boys be right.
I wish this was a visual podcast so we could just sort of, because they just stand sort of like shoulders very wide
and hunched over. And
they never quite do I had to do it to impose, but I can imagine them.
They just be walking.
Yeah.
I liked they were evil, but I liked them.
Yeah,
they're just doing their jobs.
They just doing their job.
They're doing their job within the simulation of the simulation.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
as soon as they start coming out of it, I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, I'm like, this is no longer a simulation. This is an eldritch abomination.
Yeah,
I feel like that was the point where I was like, this feels like it's another layer of something.
Yeah.
It was just like, I like the beginning a lot. I think at the end, it took a few too many turns for me personally.
Did you see the very, very end twist?
I think so.
When they're on the moon? Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw the moon. Yeah.
I feel like that was earned.
Yeah.
I like it as a nice twist of...
I'm still not sure if earned is the right term, but I don't know. I don't know how I'd fully describe it.
I like that it doesn't necessally come out of nowhere.
Exactly.
Because when you think back to all the stuff with the crow, it's like the crow is sort of very independent from...
Yeah. First of all, they made it seem like he was a crow. Because they first show the crow as he wakes up, I think. And the first thing I thought, was he the crow all this time?
What are you talking about?
On the moon, before they pan to him, the guy, they pan to the crow.
Yeah. When he wakes up on the
crow is his girlfriend that he was trying to rescue.
Yeah.
And it turns out that she was trying to rescue him.
Yeah, but on the moon...
She was the crow.
Next to the crow, right? Am I fully fucking this up?
I don't remember seeing
I have no idea what the...
Oh my god. Okay, let's just forget, because I probably just remember everything wrong.
Melina watched another simulation.
Yeah. I watched the separate second ending.
The crow cut.
I was trying to find explanations for anything at this point.
To be fair, by the end of that movie, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of shit happens.
Yeah.
And like visually, it shows you a lot of shit happening because there's yet another fucking trip out scene.
Oh yeah, there's some really nice psychedelic visuals, and like at first when the film started, I'm like, oh, this CGI is. I think it justifies it though as the film progresses and you get to the more wild shit, and I'm like, I'm glad they did this because then we don't have to deal with the very jarring, hand drawn 1 minute CG the next. Yeah.
It was a bit jarring in the beginning.
Yeah.
I found the first two seasons. I just kind of attributed it to like, I've not seen many like this, so I just have to get used to it.
That was the thing, is like I started watching it and I had no idea it was like full CG.
Yeah.
Because if I had known that, I would have been like, look, none of the other anime CG looks like Lupin.
You'll never be Lupin.
You'll never reach the level of the first, because the first is very much in a style of how we do CG animation. So that's, I was watching it and I'm like, oh.
That's a good way. I said I think there was one shot in the beginning where they kind of panned around or something, and you really saw the room kind of move as if there was an actual camera, and it was like, oh. Not negative or positive, just
oh, this is different.
Which is interesting because now of like digital animation and like hand drawing on a computer, 2D animation can actually do full camera movement. Yeah. So sometimes it doesn't even need to be 3D to achieve that. Because I keep thinking of the shot from Weathering with You, which we haven't watched for the podcast yet.
All in due time.
All in due time. But at the beginning, near the beginning of the movie, there's like a shot where they go up to the top of a building, and it's like just before the title card, and it does a big pan round them and stuff, and it's like it's very well constructed for like fully like 2D. Everything's hand drawn and stuff.
Nice.
But yeah, the CG was, I think, iffy to begin with. It has a very, I want to say minimalist, like aesthetic for the characters at least. Like there's so many shots of people's hand where there's like very little detail going on.
Oh yeah.
I also like that every time the main character, whose name I don't remember.
Naomi,
that's it.
Which I kept reading as I kept reading as Naomi for
Same.
a bit. And I was like,
Naomi.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
Naomi.
Whenever he looks at the not the love interest of the movie, but the other one,
Sparkle Girl.
There is just some filter effect going on around her.
Like for the first time, I was like, oh, you introduce her as she's perfect,
Yeah.
sparkles, but every single time.
And at first I thought it was from his perspective, but then they started showing it when it wasn't his perspective.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna be honest. When the second time like she did that, I was like, oh, she could just do that.
Yeah.
She just has a superpower of
because
making
it's
sparkles.
like it's the scene where like he's just made all the books again to save the book fair,
which is adorable.
Yeah. And then like
oh.
I can't remember what happens. They must fall over or something like that, and then they all walk in with their books, and she's just like, oh my god, are you guys dating? And like love hearts come out from behind her, and I'm like,
What?
does she have different effects that she can set off?
She's actually a magical.
Yeah.
She's actually a magical girl. She's got her own story.
She's very much from a different movie.
Yeah. I thought there was gonna be more payoff with her because like they set her up. And she, like they make a point where like she's in certain scenes in the background, just sort of looking at Naomi, and I was like, okay, is she gonna throw a wrench into like the plan?
They were kind of making it seem like she liked him.
Yeah, like she
definitely, and he made it very clear. I like her.
Oh yeah,
I like her.
To the point that when the future Naomi brings it up to him, it flashes to his magazines, and it's just them. Like Rory and Sparkly Magical Girl like replaced on the cover girls, and I'm like, this is kind of weird.
Yeah.
My dude. That imagination of yours, huh?
Yeah. Huh. Yeah. Pretty wild. Future Naomi had no right to expose him like that.
It gets his point across. I can't blame him.
Look, it's very convincing of yes, I'm from the future, but like you didn't have to, my man.
He could have just went like that and like
just pointed at the box of magazines.
Yeah, or just kind of.
I know what's in there.
You didn't have to like literally bash them down and make them spread out on the floor.
Yeah, he could have just. This bad boy could fit so many magazines in it.
Could have literally just looked at the box, looked back at him, and then just like did
with
his eyebrows.
All
right, it's you.
But funny, haha.
Funny, haha, anime.
Yeah.
It is very like stereotypical of. But what guy in 2027?
Yeah, 2027 because it's in the future.
Which is very much like they're showing sort of like post-digital here.
Yeah, like the simulation of the past takes place in the future.
Yeah.
So really, in the real world, which I'm putting in like quotes, is like 2037.
I would assume so. Yeah, because they mentioned it being like 10 years or something like that.
Like,
and he still has magazines.
He has a phone.
Like, exactly.
Yeah.
Like there's full AR.
He had to go out and buy the magazines and pay for them probably in person.
Yeah.
I feel like the embarrassment of that is bigger.
Unless it was like what would happen when we were younger is you would go like to like whatever wood spot the guy.
Wood spot.
It's like a wooded area that most towns have.
In the woods.
And
Yeah,
you'd
but
go
like
there.
you're calling it a wood spot in this scenario.
Well, I'll get there. And you would just find them there, just lying on it, like the mystical tome of enlightenment.
Yeah, it's like a
No one knows where they
not
came
treasure,
from.
but it's something.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, that's a very British thing, I think.
Maybe.
It's just finding discarded
Maybe I didn't
porn
go
mags.
to enough wood spots, but
You didn't go to the right places.
no, apparently not.
To be fair, different demographic.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. We're sorry, Melina.
Yes.
That's fine.
But what I don't get is like he has magazines, and it's like they've fully found a function for AR.
Yeah.
And so it begs the question, is there VR? Is there other
Surely.
ways? Like, surely at
Yeah.
this point, there are other ways to experience this than
Magazines.
a physical thing that can be found.
They could have diverged more into this, but I feel like this would be a very different kind of anime.
True, very true. There's other anime that get around it, though.
Great.
I'm not going into this.
Yeah, this movie was something very,
yeah.
like, it just throws everything at you in the last, like, act of the film where he's, like, you know, in the real world.
Yeah.
But what we are led to believe is the real world.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
just so much going on.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Like, the girlfriend wakes up from her coma in the real world. But, like, because she has the memories of her past self,
Yeah.
she sort of recognizes, like, the younger self more than the present self.
Which makes sense.
makes sense,
Yeah.
yeah.
She's been in a coma for 10 years. She hasn't
Yeah.
seen him age. And of course, is rightfully like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah. And, like, I think even just in personality, because...
10 years changes. something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I also think, like, because future Naomi has... Naomi? Fuck, whatever.
Naomi.
Has, like, changed his past self so much. Like, he's not a recognizable person
Yeah,
anymore
that's
to
the
her.
implication I think was what
Yeah.
they were going for.
Because, like, he, you know, if he was just him, if he didn't change anything, his past self would just be, like, who we meet at the start of the movie, which is a very meek, shy, indecisive, whereas he turns him into a literal powerhouse, confident.
Almost goes like all shonen.
Yeah, he basically does turn into a shonen fight at the end.
Yeah.
Where he's like, I have the power to do anything.
I am God.
Oh
But
my
he
God.
saves the girl.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he does.
And that fucks things
And then
up.
the girl saves him.
Yeah. Because that was the actual plot the whole time.
Yeah. Which again, I think is a nice little kind of final cap off to the
Yeah.
film. Where it's like, oh shit, he was actually the one
Yeah.
being saved.
I will say that sort of negated the fact that his like future self trying to save this girl that he last saw, like she last saw him 10 years ago, is kind of creepy if you really think about it.
Yeah.
Like I get that like
No, I get what you
they
mean.
were like into each other, but like 10 years,
They were also only together for like what?
2 weeks.
2 weeks or
3
something
weeks.
like that. Yeah, he made it clear that like they very much only just started dating.
Which again sort of drives them even more because they barely had time, but like at the same time
At that
they
point,
had
you just
barely
move
had
on
time.
though.
Yeah.
You know, you're
You
a
felt
teen.
wasted most time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially teenage
Yeah,
years.
like it's trauma and you get over that, but you know, you move on and you find somewhere else to put it.
You don't dedicate your whole life.
Do you want to specify put it or
No, just
No?
leaving
Okay,
that vague.
okay.
Okay, we'll move on. You don't dedicate your whole life to like
No.
It's
fixing her.
for the sake of the story, it's very sweet and kind. To
Yeah,
be like,
but I
yeah.
think
She
what
deserves
else
it.
what else makes it a little weird is that he's in college before he finds out that there is a way that he can save her, because there's like a montage like when we get to the real world and
Of
we
what
finally
actually
sort of
happened.
we find out sort of like where Naomi's been during those 10 years, and like he's going to college and like the professor guy's like explaining something, he's like, oh my god, I can save her, and he's visibly like 20 something, and you're like, my dude.
You're still. We've seen the magazines. You'll get over it.
Yeah. You had that girl you were initially into who crushed on you. Come on, dude.
Yeah, like, we have a backup ready to go.
Oh yeah, 100%.
How much you got? I'm gonna stop that joke from this point on.
Yeah, an interesting thing. The professor, actually, now that I'm on this topic of conversation, that's Dio, by the way.
Yes?
He is. It took me until he said...
That's so weird.
It took me until he said Big Bang to realise, until he said something in English, I was like, oh, that's Takahito Koyasu. Okay.
That's so weird because that character is
so different. Yeah. When we're talking about lack of range for Yuzuru's voice actor in the last film.
Context of Melina, Dio's a very evil bastard.
Yeah, he's like the big bad from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I'll play a clip of him later because it's
he's such an arsehole.
Yeah, he's got a very distinctive voice as well. Yeah. Like that was good casting.
Oh yeah,
because Koyasu's been around for a long time. But that really kind of made a name for him there. That was so bizarre because
so different.
Yeah, such a kind of bubbly and
I don't know how he's a professor.
No idea.
I know there's like a mad genius underneath it all, but like he's very much mad before genius.
Figure out is like, is he meant to be American? Because he's got a very distinctive appearance as well.
Oh yeah, I looked at it, was like, oh, this is like Big Tech America.
Yeah, he's got a very kind of doughy look to him.
He definitely stood out.
He's pudgy.
He's unique.
Yes, to say the least.
In his own way.
He's just happy to be there.
I mean, he's never without a smile on his face.
No, even when he's like about to be crushed by all like the cyber
boys.
police, the boys, he's still like, I'm gonna get it.
He's an endless like optimist because even when like the thing disappears, what?
At that point, they're basically like, yep, another universe.
Yeah, he's just like,
we've created life.
I was like, I'm watching it and I'm like, hold on, did they just Akira's?
Yeah, I saw the dome thing. I was like, no.
I did sort of scream like, oh, they've done a fucking Akira.
Yeah. It's like, wait a minute, we just watched this a couple of days ago.
Yeah. It's another fucking anime that ends with another fucking universe.
And then it does end with another.
And then it ends with another other universe.
Yeah.
Because it's all simulation, so they're in a new simulation world. But they say it's like so much for us to discover, which my first thought was like, you're alone? That doesn't seem very good.
This
like
world
it looks like
now,
civilization. So I assumed there would be people, but they were just stood there. Wow. Huh.
I'm pretty sure the message is because like the original timeline, just to call it like that, has been changed so much. It's basically its own universe, completely independent from the other two. Is the meaning? They can forge their own future now.
Yeah,
it's adorable.
So it makes me wonder, as like the very final end of the film in like 2047.
Is that following on from that? Are you about to say, or
you know, like when he wakes up?
Yeah. Sorry, I misinterpreted that. Yeah.
Is it because like they're on the moon?
I mean, I took it to mean that like it's the same time, like it's like still 2037.
Okay,
but like it's just a different events took place in the past that led to this instead of that.
Yeah, because they do make a point of mentioning like it's just the emotional state that needs to be the same as back then.
I'm guessing that because like older Naomi looks the same. He doesn't look like he's aged even more.
This is true. But then also like Japan has like you look eternally young and then suddenly you are old.
True.
You are either the cocky mid 20-30 something year old or you're the wrinkled old man with wisdom. There's no in between.
I will say though, now that I've said that, the girlfriend did look visually
The girlfriend
older,
looked quite older.
Which was not how she looked in the first real world.
But I don't know if that's just more of like a sophisticated appearance because she's a scientist and stuff like that.
I thought I'd seen like extra wrinkles, but I'm not sure if I just made that up now.
Yeah. I mean, being in a coma, I feel like you'd age less fast in a way.
I think so, yeah.
Is that how it works?
Because, you know, you don't
your
get
body's
as much
not
sun.
functioning.
Yeah,
the
I
same
guess.
way.
Yeah.
Like you're not gonna stay young, but
but like you're not using your body as much.
Yeah, you're not stressing anything.
You're not stressed as fuck.
Yeah, stress as fuck. Everybody else is stressed as fuck for you.
I mean, she's been in a coma for like 10 years and can walk.
I mean, she struggled to walk,
but,
and she was carried on like his back for a bit.
Yeah.
Then he he was like, get a motorcycle. I don't know how to ride a motorcycle. Like, but then surely you'll figure it out.
She then like walks down the stairs and stuff.
Stumbles, I'd say.
You know what that is? It's the power of love.
Like that final battle, I really like the design of Big Monster.
Big boy.
The big boy.
The big boy.
Which is made out of the boys.
Boy of boys.
The biggest boy compiling the boys.
Like the way the colors moved within it, I thought was very funky looking. In a good way.
I like that they used a sort of like consistent kind of, not color palette, but like that sort of color effect that happens whenever Naomi makes something, and also it relates to the
sort of, I want to say yellowish sort of
glow. There's yellow, red, blue, sort of
it's a whole host of colors.
And that sort of symbolizes like something from the simulation, which should have been the first indication that maybe this isn't reality. I mean,
that's what I was sort of getting in my head as it was going on, and that whole coloration of like the simulation is sort of the first thing you start off with in the movie, because you see like the wireframes of everything before it all forms. Because like I know it opens up like showing all the simulation effects.
There's also a shot, I can't remember when it happens actually, but it's somewhere when past Naomi is in the present. You see like a set of like different, it's almost like a representation of the simulations, where like the first one in the middle, which is the one that past Naomi has come from, like goes red and stops moving, and then as he's in the other simulation, that one goes red and stops moving.
I think it was in the control room, and they were doing the recovery.
That's it. Yeah,
we had some of. I remember seeing
you kind of see it zoom out, and there's like another layer that didn't really get looked at, which I assume is the layer we go to.
Now that we know.
Now that we know.
Inside a simulation.
It's very Inception-esque actually as well.
Yeah, for sure.
It's such a bizarre like. I'm feel like I'm struggling to discuss it because it's
a movie that it's hard to explain because so much happens.
A lot does happen in the movie,
and the concepts are like very hard to get into words. You've got to watch this movie.
I mean, at its core, it's very simplistic as like a romance as film,
but there's so many layers. Above and beneath
as to who's rescuing who and who has ulterior motives and
I liked it though.
I enjoyed it. I had quite a bit of fun with it. I'm looking at the runtime and thinking we're maybe a bit short, but I think, you know, if we're running out of things to say, that's fair enough.
If we get our thoughts out, that's the main point.
Yeah, exactly. So scores on this one.
I would give it a 7.5.
I think I like the first act a lot, and after that, I think for me it just got a little too much.
Yeah, I think this comes down to like the sci-fi thing,
which we're more receptive to.
But a lot of clarity in the beginning, not afterwards.
See, and if you hit me with ambiguity, I'm all over that shit.
Like when I first act, I really like, because I love the idea of I live my life. You have to live it exactly like me, except for this bit. Love that.
Yeah.
But just for the confusion, I have to go to like a 6.5.
That's fair. I'm somewhere in the middle where it's like I'd give it a 7. I liked it. It's not the strongest piece of this sort of
concept.
No, there's nothing else really like it that I've watched.
Because it's not quite Matrix.
No, and it's not Inception. Suddenly went into Sean Connery for a second there. And there's no other anime that I think I've watched that kind of go into a topic like this, but I think it's I have some issues with the execution of it is the main thing. I like the sort of theme and the ambiguity and the sort of idea that there's no, like, we don't know where the top layer of it is by the end of the film.
It's just Sims all the way down.
Yeah.
But I think you do sort of get lost after a while.
Yeah, it's not very well plotted out at times, and the animation again is just a bit. It takes some getting used to, and I feel like there maybe could have been a way to pull this off. hand drawn, even you know, fully hand drawn, where you're not having to switch. Like you can do this sort of imagery very well in that form. So yeah, 7. I enjoyed it, but and I'd watch it again. It's not groundbreaking, I don't think.
I'd recommend it, but I wouldn't say it's like an award-winning film.
Yeah, 100%. So I think we've reached the natural end point here.
I think an overarching theme of these two movies is others want to see you smile. So smile.
Yeah.
So smile, yeah.
Smile.
Be happy.
The core of the films are nice.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of wholesome stuff.
Yeah.
It's all about the power of love.
Okay, before we get
copyright.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Anime Lane. I think this is coming out at the end of the year, so I think this is us officially wrapped for 2022. Thank you very much for sticking with the show if you've been listening.
Yeah.
And we'll see you next year, which feels weird to say.
Have a good New Year's.
Yeah.
Happy Hogmanay.
Not the most Christmassy podcast. But yeah, see you guys in 2023.
Yeah.
See you then.
Bye.
Bye.